China isn't just winning, China is 10 moves ahead. They're not playing checkers while you play chess. They're coding the simulation you think is a chessboard. The world doesn't want you to know this. They don't want you to know what I'm about to say, but I do. Because I'm not here to please anybody. I'm here to wake you up and let you know what's actually going on behind the scenes. Growing up in the West, or even parts of Africa, you were told a story. China is just another country. Just another big place where they make knockoff sneakers and weird food, right? Wrong! That narrative was deliberately planted like a slow-growing weed in your mind. Because they don't want you to know just how far behind you and your country actually are. Ignorance keeps you obedient. Look, it worked now. While you thought China was some sweatshop nation copying the West, they were building an empire. Silently, systematically, ruthlessly. Here's what China's actually doing. You see, while you were scrolling through TikTok and crying about someone misgendering a potato, China was training kids to code in Python. Kids. By age 10, Chinese children are building robots, learning multiple languages, understanding AI and machine learning, practicing discipline, structure, and strategy. Meanwhile, Timmy or Tabo in the West just figured out how to identify as a toaster. This isn't hate. This is just a cold reality check. One side is training for the 22nd century. The other side can't survive without Google Maps. Now let's talk about what I call the IShowSpeed effect. And after I explain exactly what that is to you and why it's important, you'll understand why it's very crucial to what we're talking about. So who is IShowSpeed? And why does he matter in this China versus the world conversation? You see, IShowSpeed, real name Darren Watkins Jr., you can look him up, is not your average YouTuber or Twitch streamer. He is a cultural phenomenon, a 19-year-old Ohio kid who turned his unfiltered energy, chaotic humor, and internet-breaking moments into a global brand. This is the guy who used to bark loud on live streams, light fireworks inside his house, and once accidentally exposed himself in front of thousands of viewers. If you know, you know. And still managed to build a royal fan base in the tens of millions. He has about 38 million subscribers as we speak. But Speed's influence isn't just memes and headlines. He's one of the most watched personalities on the planet, especially by my generation. He seeks the universal language of unfiltered realness, the kind that kids, teens, and even adults crave in a world of fake smiles and corporate-sponsored influencers. If Mr. Beast is the YouTube nice guy, IShowSpeed is the wild card people can't stop watching. You know what I'm saying? So why does he matter in the China versus the West narrative? Because here's what happened. When IShowSpeed traveled to China, he made a live stream, and the internet paid attention. And what happened there flipped the West's narrative about China on its head. Because he wasn't censored, he wasn't restricted, he was welcomed like royalty there. People on the streets of China recognized him. They gave him gifts, walked him around like some celebrity. The government didn't shut him down. The people didn't avoid him. There was no form of racism. They embraced him. For millions of Western viewers, his trip became their first real exposure to modern China. Not through some boring CNN documentary, not through some politically biased government footage, but through someone they actually trust. Speed. Through his streams, the world saw clean streets, modern tech, polite people, advanced infrastructure, and a society 10 steps ahead of the chaotic narrative they've been fed. And that is why IShowSpeed is important in this situation. Not because he's a politician or a scholar, but because he has more influence on the youth than half the senators in the US combined. And for a brief moment, he became China's greatest accidental ambassador, exposing a powerful truth. China doesn't need to change the narrative. They just need the West to keep talking. Because the more they show, the more the mask slips off. And Speed, he handed the West that red pill on a silver platter. IShowSpeed went to China and the internet broke. If you were there to watch it, then you were there and you understand what I'm saying. Here's why. Because for the first time, the average person saw China without the lens. They saw order, respect, efficiency, insane hospitality, clean, organized, ultra-modern cities. Speed walked around being treated like royalty. You'd think the man was China's foreign minister or something, or even became China's ambassador for a split second. He got more love in there in 2 hours than some leaders get in 20 years in their own countries. And guess what? People loved it. People who previously thought China was a grey communist blob now wanted to move there, because that one stream did more to show China's reality than CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, National Geographic combined. The speed run of exposure. That's exactly what it was. Now imagine what would happen if we all actually saw what Speed saw, all saw behind the curtain full time. That's why they control the narrative. Their technology is light years ahead. Because let's be real, you are still buying the lie that the West leads tech, that Silicon Valley is the king of innovation. But guess what? China is building the next internet. They've got quantum internet prototypes. Most of y'all watching this don't even know what that is. AI robots running restaurants, facial recognition that makes Western systems look medieval, 6G in development, 6G, I didn't even know there was a 6G, national AI labs in schools, facial scan checkouts in corner stores. And while you're crying over Twitter bans and fighting over Elon Musk memes, they are automating entire cities. Now here's where it gets serious. While China is out here grinding, investing in real infrastructure, Africa is still caught up in bread and circus. Who started that distraction? Western media. You're made to believe that politics is a soap opera, that celebrities matter, that social justice battles are the new revolution. Meanwhile, China's lending billions to African nations, securing ports and building railways. They are setting up AI labs in Kenya. But who's getting the credit? Some European NGO handing out water bottles. Despicable. Wake up. And here's why they don't want you to know. You want to know why? You want to know why they don't want you to know why China is so advanced? Think about it. If you realized China is years ahead, you'd panic. You would question everything. And they can't have that. They can't have you so scared and panicking. So instead, they distract you with gender debates, reaction videos, TikTok dances, IShowSpeed backflipping off of Lamborghinis, censorship debates. Meanwhile, China has their own TikTok, and it's educational. Their algorithm promotes STEM. Ours promotes stupidity. Because they know whoever controls the next generation's attention wins. Simple as that. And right now, China owns attention, focus, education, and infrastructure, while you beg for Wi-Fi. So here's why China wins, or is winning right now. Let me lay it out plain for you. Education. They teach kids to build the future. You teach them to complain about it and beat up their teachers. Tech. They use AI to run cities. You use AI to make memes and generic YouTube thumbnails. Culture. They respect elders. You cancel them and motivate your kids to disrespect them as well. Focus. They look 50 years ahead. You can't even finish a Netflix episode. And let's be honest, what I said right there was a compliment, because let's be honest, you probably can't even watch more than 3 seconds of TikTok. Family. Strong units. They have strong units, while the West glorifies broken homes, fatherless homes, and promotes more abortion. And here's the bonus round they win at too. Their work ethic. They work like their future depends on it, because it does. And us, we romanticize burnout, mental health weeks. I'm so depressed, I want to get antidepressant pills. Let me be clear, I'm not anti-rest, right? I'm not trying to be that guy, but rest after you conquer. Rest after you're proud of what you've built. Not because you're overwhelmed by 2 Zoom calls and a latte. I mean, come on now. Now here's more reasons why China is slapping the world awake and walking away with the trophy, while the West argues about TikTok bans and pronouns. Alright, let's go deeper. Number 1, China is quietly colonizing the future with infrastructure. While countries like South Africa are still debating if their roads should be potholes or swimming pools, China is building highways across Africa, ports in South America, and high-speed trains that make Amtrak look like Thomas the Tank Engine on a juice cleanse. The Belt and Road Initiative, that's not just buzzwords. That's China literally putting down economic routes across more than 140 countries. Ports, railways, digital infrastructure, you name it. This isn't war, it's checkmate through construction. And guess what? Those countries they helped, they don't forget. Because while the West sends lectures and tariffs, China is sending bulldozers. It's all thought out, it's all built. Number 2, their kids are trained like Spartans with AI in their blood. Your child is busy trying to get likes on TikTok. Their children are coding artificial intelligence at age 12. Chinese education is not perfect, let's be real, it's intense. But it's producing beasts. These kids are memorizing math the way Western kids memorize Kendrick Lamar's lyrics. They're doing physics before puberty. By the time they hit university, they've already outskilled most 25-year-olds in the West. By age 10, they already know how to code in Python. You want to know what I was doing in age 10? I was nagging my mom to buy me a PlayStation 3. While their kids are doing stuff that will decide the future. While half the West can't even find China if you show them a map, China's youth is literally building the map of the 22nd century. Number 3 is America's debt equals China's leverage. The US government is like that one guy at the club with 12 credit cards and a bottle he can't afford, right? They owe over $34 trillion and still counting. You want to know who holds a significant portion of that debt? China. Yeah, the so-called enemy is the banker. And while America is printing money like a toddler with a crayon, China is buying gold, diversifying currency holdings, and slowly setting up the yuan as a global alternative to the dollar. It's like watching a chess master take pawns off the board while the opponent thinks they're playing checkers. Number 4, they don't export chaos, they export products. What does China export? Laptops, solar panels, cars, phones, clothing, machinery, entire cities, if you let them. What does the West export? Debt, divisive ideologies, Netflix originals, sexy red, Ice Spice, and military freedom. China shows up with deals and dollars. The West shows up with drones and democracy brokers. And while everyone's watching Hollywood, China quietly becomes the warehouse of the world. Their factories don't sleep. Their ships don't stop. They are everywhere and nowhere at once. Number 5 is that TikTok was just the Trojan horse. You think TikTok was an accident? Please. That was chess, not checkers. They gave the West an app that distracted the youth, ruined attention spans, and created a culture of dopamine junkies, while their version of TikTok is teaching science, discipline, and patriotism. In China, TikTok, which is Douyin, if I pronounced it right, limits screen time for kids. It boosts educational content. It's weaponized social engineering for the good of the nation. In the West, it's girls shaking it for clout and boys barking into their webcams for likes. It's not a social media app, it's a cultural airstrike. And the West downloaded it willingly. Number 6, they know how to shut up and watch. China's not bragging, they don't need to. While America argues on Twitter and the UK tries to remember why it used to matter, China is observing everything. They are learning, they are building. They study the US election, every European mistake, every South African uprising like the EFF. They don't react, they just adjust. It's like watching a final boss who lets you throw all your punches just so that he can find the right time to swing once to end you. That's why you don't hear Chinese officials on CNN screaming into the void. They don't waste time explaining their moves. They let the scoreboard talk. When I was a kid, I used to think China was the country that made all the cool Jackie Chan movies, not knowing that these armies at the time already won the electrical vehicles war. Electric vehicles, yes. The future of transportation, yes. China is already there. Tesla might get all the clout, but BYD, Build Your Dreams, is eating the industry alive. In 2023, they overtook Tesla in electrical vehicle sales. You didn't know that. Cars are getting faster, better, and cheaper over there. Europe is panicking. America is barely keeping up. South Africa, yeah, we're still trying to find a charging station. They build the cars. They build the batteries. They own the lithium mines. It's not competition, all right? It's monopoly with manners. I remember back in college, electrical engineering, right? I was grinding formulas, getting voltage headaches, and wondering, yo, where are all our top achievers going? Why are they all disappearing? They get fantastic marks, 9900, and then when they congratulated, we never see them or hear from them again. So then my friend and I asked my lecturer about it, and he's like, oh, they've been sent to China. And I laughed because my friend said this. He's like, China? He thought it was like some vacation or some exchange program, like, hey, learn how to make a robot or whatever, or some practical. And we didn't get it. Well, boy, oh boy, do I get it now. They weren't sent to China for some vacation reward. They were upgraded. Those students came back being able to calculate power factor in their sleep. And there I was, still wondering if my resistor was connected backwards. China didn't just teach them. China recruited them. They got some of that Dragon Ball Z time chamber training over there. You leave South Africa as a student, you come back as some cyborg. And now it all makes sense. Rare earth minerals, materials, metals, China. Semiconductor processing tools, China. Basic manufacturing components for 80% of the Western tech, you guessed it, China. Try going to war with the guy who sells you your weapons parts. That's like trying to rob your dealer while he's still filling the bag. You're gonna get smoked, bruv. Smoked. America has two parties that hate each other more than their enemies. The UK is basically in a permanent midlife crisis. South Africa's got political cosplay going on every election season. But China, one party, one election. No flip-flopping, no Twitter wars, just quiet, brutal efficiency. Whether you agree with their system or not, it works. Because while the rest of us are stuck in emotional politics, China is running the world like a business. Cold, efficient, and profit-driven. You watched the David Goggins video and want to win today? Aw, that's cute. China wants to win 100 years from now. Their policies are built on decades of planning. Their economic goals stretch to 2050. Their military goals to 2100. They don't care about quarterly profits or approval ratings. They're not trying to trend, they're trying to rule your trend. While the West changes leaders every 4 years, China builds empires with 40-year blueprints. That's not just long-term thinking, that is immortality logic. But Summer, isn't China bad? I never said they were saints. I said they're winning. And I respect winners. If you know anything about me and what I say in my channel, I respect winners. The West can call China oppressive, they can call them whatever name they want, but they still trade with them every single day. You can't boycott your supplier. You need them more than they need you. And that's checkmate. The point is, China didn't beat the world with brute force. They beat it with patience, with planning. Something many of us in the West don't have because of our 3-second goldfish attention spans. You can keep coping or you can start learning. But either way, they're not waiting for your permission to dominate. They are already doing it. In silence, with style, and with a vision. So what now? Right, China's ahead. What now? Well, if you're watching this, you've got two options. Number one, cope by calling this fear-mongering, by calling my video offensive. You can keep scrolling and click off this video and lose at life. Or number two, you can wake up, learn, study, evolve, adapt. Because the future is for the focused, not for the emotional. Trust me. It's not for the lazy. It's not for the distracted. It's for the focused. China is not winning the tariff war. They are winning the world. And if you don't fix up, you'll be left behind in the digital dust, which is despicable. You think this is about trade, about the tariff wars, about who makes your damn phone? No. This is about who owns the future. And America knows that, and so does China. While you're busy debating pronouns and binge-watching reboots of superhero movies, China is writing the sequel to Civilization. And spoiler alert, the West isn't the main character anymore. They are the side quest, the background NPCs for that matter. China doesn't care about your hashtags. They don't care about your data. They don't need to evade. They don't care about your new Snow White. They already live inside your pocket, your feed, your factories. They already won half the battle without having to raise a gun. They are building warriors. We are building influencers. They are training kids to code. We are training kids to cry on TikTok for likes and views. They are mastering AI. We are arguing about whether AI is problematic or not. Are you kidding me? Do you see what's happening? Do you see the mindset difference here? The world is not waiting for you to wake up, basically. The future belongs to the focused, the ones who are several steps ahead, the disciplined, the silent monsters who don't chase fame, they chase domination. Those ones who sit in the shadows building empires while everyone else dances in the light. And if you're still laughing, if you're still brushing this off like you do with every other situation in your life, you're not a player in the game. You're just the pawn who's going to be eliminated at some point. And by the time you realize it, the king will already have crossed the board and taken everything. So get real, get sharp, or get left behind, because the clock is ticking. And China's already living like they're living in 2050, sipping tea and watching you scroll past this video.